Hi, I'm Cindy with ResinObsession, and we're working with the ResinObsession Super Clear Resin, and we do have a different tutorial on mixing the resin. This one is about embedding. I get a lot of questions about embedding, okay, and I kind of go about it maybe in a different way than others do, but for paper, something printed on glossy paper with a laser printer, I've never had the ink run on me, okay? So, beads and other objects, bugs or something that you want to embed in resin, what I like to do is take some of my liquid resin, take the item I want to embed, so let's pretend this is anything, okay? And I dip it into my resin, okay? Because what happens is you pour your resin into the mold or cavity, okay? You've got resin on the embedment. That means when you slide it in, you've got resin touching resin instead of the friction that you would have with paper or any object and resin, okay? If you already dipped it and allowed it to dry, like let's say this is a bug, okay? And you dip it. And you're going to let that dry, okay? That is the time that you're going to see that there are cavities in there that need to be filled with resin. If they don't get filled during the curing process, that's what will cause little bubbles, is that it didn't have a chance to release that air that was built up inside that cavity. And so when the resin comes in and pushes that air out, and the resin has started to gel, okay, now there's not enough force to finish pushing that bubble out, okay? So it's all the same principle, so that when you do embed, you are embedding something that is coated with resin. So then resin touches resin, and it just makes the union so much better, so much easier than a paper and trying to stick it in there and let it absorb the resin and everything. I've just had a lot better luck with taking and coating things. Sometimes they just, I let them dry. The drying mat is great for that because there's some little bubbles there that will keep it elevated. But, you could also just let it dry on the plastic sheeting, freezer paper, or something like that. Okay? And then if you do get some bubbles, you can take and pop them, or if they're really stubborn, just take and move them over to the edge and pull the bubble out. Okay? I hope that helps a little bit, okay, on embedding. Now then, normally in a mold, you work upside down, right? Because that is able to get a better replica of whatever the mold was made from. Anyway, you kind of work upside down, okay? So your first layer, what I like to do for the first layer is pretty much, wet the mold, okay? And so I kind of want the resin, and that will give me a nice clear surface. And then I would let that cure, at least to a gel stage. And when a gel stage means that if you touch it, it's kind of sticky, tacky, okay? That's a gel stage. So then, after it has reached the gel stage, then that's when I would take my item, that now has cured resin on it, and I would, well, but let's say this was cured, okay? And so I would pour a little bit more resin on top of that gelled layer, and then I would slide my embedment in, okay, poke out any air bubbles that might get trapped there, and then let that dry to a gel stage, okay? And then what you can do is come back now with resin and maybe put a little bit of colorant in it, or some glitter or something, and now you would pour that as a bottom coat, because remember, you're working upside down, so when you flip it out, the part that was down now becomes your top, okay? A lot of people like using glitters in their back layer, which is great. Some glitters will sink, and some glitters, the resin can get too hot for it, but really and truly most glitters are great. This is a glitter that I mixed with the whole thing and poured the whole thing for the glitter, and then here was a colorant, okay? I hope that helps.